Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is March 5th, 2022, and I am your co-host, Thefatwizard, joined today by...
Alamaxia.
And ShaneIsGames.
Today we're taking a look at Metal Gear on the NES. This was released in North America June 17th, 1988. It's also worth calling out that I think the original release of this was on the MSX and then got ported over to the NES. I've never played the MSX version, but we are doing NES today. And before we get started with my lovely partners here, I'm going to make an assertion and just let me know if you disagree so I know to mute you early on in the stream here or the recording. I think this is probably like a solid top 20 games of all time. Shane, we'll start with you.
Like, honestly, I was really blown away by just the ambition of this game. Like, I kept thinking the audacity for them to do an NES game with just this giant kitchen sink of mechanics. Absolutely blown away. I don't know if it would go on my top 20, but it's good. It's really good.
All right, Alamaxia.
It was entirely what I didn't expect, much like with a lot of the other games we play. The first 7 rooms in this game were arguably the hardest for me.
Are you talking about in the jungle when you just get
when you just get started because you're walking through and you have no weapons and you gotta punch your way through things. But I didn't expect the game to be basically menu simulator.
It's especially as you're trying to go up and down indoors and you get like 9 key cards. But if you remember Metal Gear Solid, kind of had some of that same stuff, right? You had to wait, you had to swap. You had to like swap the cards that you would have to go in. So,
but you didn't have to test 8 of them to open a door.
That's true. So you said that the first 7 screens were difficult. Let's actually, Alamaxi, why don't you walk me through the start of the game here and what was making these first 7 screens difficult for you?
Yeah, so Snake is dropped in from the helicopter or plane and they parachute down and he's all alone in the jungle. You move over a screen and there's a guard standing there. He's, a really great guard. He's always, doing his job and he starts getting sleepy and he feel asleep.
That's one of the classic lines in Metal Gear. I feel asleep.
So you just you continue on. You find a truck that another one's guarding. You can go in the truck, and I think that had the binoculars in it.
Binoculars,
which
kind of cool.
Binoculars are pretty cool.
Yeah, you can see a screen up. I guess you could see any of the 4 cardinal directions around you. But what's really weird is when you exit the binocular mode, things on the screen that you started on like respawn. So if you're next to a guard and you kill that guard and then turn on binoculars and look around, when you take off the binoculars, the guard will be back and start shooting you or whatever. So that's kind of weird. I don't know if you guys ran into that.
There were definitely some menu manipulation tricks that you could do.
Yeah. But we do head a little bit south there, and there's a bunch of trucks, and one of the trucks has card number 1. It's the first of 8 key cards you pick up. And you jump into one of the other trucks there, and another classic line is, "Uh-oh, the truck have started to move."
Really went all out of the translation on this one.
Exactly there. So now, Shane, you're familiar with the Metal Gear series, correct? But you just haven't played this one.
Correct. I'd played Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, and obviously I'm familiar with what Kojima has done, but this is the first time I'd actually sat down with this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, in some ways, you can see the trappings of Kojima. Like Alamaxia pointed out, all the different items and the fun ways to manipulate the game. But it doesn't have Kojima's like wordy dialogue, right? He didn't get the opportunity to have big cutscenes and stuff like this. You start out the game with a little tiny parachuting cutscene, but then you're off into gameplay. So I don't know. How did this game stack up against your notions of what a Kojima game was, Shane?
Well, it should be said that even though it didn't have the, like 10-minute cutscenes that a lot of people have come to associate with Kojima, I would say this is probably more wordy than a lot of NES games, what with all the
That's true.
conversations you have over the radio.
Yeah. If you exclude JRPGs, right? But yeah,
right,
totally.
Right. I think one thing that came to mind for me is a lot of people have said before that the 8 and 16-bit eras are eras of historical gaming that are defined by the restrictions that were placed on developers for how much they could actually accomplish. And like maybe this is just me looking backwards, but I felt the whole time I was playing this, knowing about Metal Gear Solid, I felt like this was Kojima just trying to do all of these big ideas, and there was only so much you could do in an 8-bit top-down environment.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why this was a stealth game, was because they couldn't have that many enemies on the screen.
Is that why it was?
So, absolutely. Yeah. And so it's really cool is they wanted to make it so you didn't have a lot of enemies and you kind of had just a couple you were sneaking around there. So it's cool that you actually caught on to that. And that's something that is widely been reported on through interviews and whatnot of Kojima. There.
That's genius. I love that.
Yeah. Well, we did get into building number 1, and there's 4, I guess like 5 main maps. There's the jungle, which is pretty short. We exited there. And then you get into building number 1. And this is when you get in there, there's a bunch of Jeeps that are all stationed there. And you have like this green tile, the floor that you're walking on there. And there's a couple guards there patrolling. If you head up to the north, you can find yourself a gas mask. That's pretty cool. And we actually just walked into a room with a gas-filled room. You have like these little clouds of gas going off there. Your guy like blinks purple. Then you had to get your gas mask. But Alamaxia, what happens when you try to get to a locked door?
Well,
and
you can only have one thing equipped at a time, and that includes key cards, gas mask, etc. So you have to take off your mask to pull out a card and swipe it in front of the door. And well, there's one thing I learned in this game is that there's nothing you can't overcome with enough rations.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that definitely here a little bit later in one of the other buildings. But I like the idea, and I guess I can kind of justify it by like the gas mask is like really dirty and it's foggy and you can't see what key card you've got. So you got to take off the mask and look at the key card and be like, oh, okay, I got key card 1 here. So, play along, guys. It's, it's okay. Yeah. So we just passed another room with this rolling pin. It's this big, like, there literally is a big, like, steel drum that's rolling back and forth, trying to squash someone. Shane, quick, invent a reason why that makes sense in this world.
Well, it's a big military base. They're going to have oil drums around for storing their fuel and stuff. And, eventually you get a bunch of empties. You don't know what to do with them. You've got a bunch of guards that are getting bored in their spare time. One thing leads to another.
Yeah, I love it. That's perfect. Okay, so after that, you go a little bit to the east, and you pick yourself up a key card number 2, and then you head north there, and the floor is electrified. And again, Alamaxia, we just played Metal Gear Solid last month. Like, last year. How surprised were you to see this Nikita missile with the electrified floor here?
Oh my gosh, I was blown away. I was just thinking, this is, like, I felt like I was playing Metal Gear Solid just in 2D. Yeah. I saw so many of the same things that were, kind of tricks or things to overcome in Metal Gear Solid that were like the same exact thing in this. Or rather, and this inspired that. So good.
In so many ways you can see like how, if you were a fan of Metal Gear, how moving all this stuff to 3D would have been just like a mind blown situation there. So yeah, I think it was really cool. And so yeah, you control the Nikita missile to blow up a panel which de-electrifies the floor. Again, there's not a lot of situations where you use that. I think there's like 2 or 3 areas in the game where you use that, or when they use electrified floors at all. So it's not very often there. And
but
then we
Nikita
get contacted
super
by
handy for almost any other application.
That's true. Yeah. And we got contacted by Diane. Did anyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
I think we got contacted by Diane, but we have this transceiver. Shane, do you want to walk us through like what this transceiver is that we keep using?
So, first of all, it works a lot like the codec in the Metal Gear Solid series, in that sometimes you'll walk into a situation and you'll hear that very familiar beeping noise. You'll have to go over there and you'll be getting contacted, often by Big Boss, your contact for the mission.
Yeah.
And then throughout the game, you meet a couple other characters like Diane. And just like in Metal Gear Solid, again, you'll have to remember certain frequencies, and sometimes you'll have to manually use the transceiver to contact people to get clues to move on, or sometimes trigger things that allow you to progress.
Yeah, and sometimes they contacts that were on one frequency request that you move to another frequency. That's kind of cool. I'm curious. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of things I missed in the codec because it's not very obvious when you can call someone. Like when someone calls you, there's a little thing that says call and then you can answer it. But I found times you could actually call people and they give you hints on various things.
I feel like there wasn't enough of that because there were times I accidentally clicked through the text too quickly and I want to, call Big Boss back to see what he says, or, oh my gosh, I didn't write down that frequency. Well, now I'm never going to know what it was.
Yeah.
But
I found you had the internet to tell you, right?
Yeah, luckily, or I don't know if the instruction manual originally had that, but
I don't think so.
I feel like there were also a few rooms in the game that someone would call you and you'd pick up the transceiver and it didn't do anything. It just didn't connect to anything.
I was actually just going to comment on that. One of the trucks brings you outside of a building and it says call, and you pick up and nothing happens. I wonder what that's about. Wonder if someone's jamming your communications. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out later.
There's also that delightful noise you hear whenever the codec call is over, that rising and falling tone that sounds like a police siren or something.
Yeah, kind of like a sine wave, right? That's going up and down. That's why I always imagined.
When it first went off, I thought like an air raid siren or like some alarm went off at the base, and I closed it and I was like, oh my god, where are they coming from?
We picked up a couple items here that are worth talking about. And, again, there's so many things to find in this game. It's so many doors and so many key cards that you have to go and then pick up and then go back to these doors. So it's a real great sense of progression, which is really why I love this game. But we picked up a cardboard box. I didn't use it too often. But, yeah, you can definitely use that to kind of sneak around, just like, the traditional Metal Gear games. We got ourselves a silencer, a grenade launcher, and a pistol. And what's really cool about that silencer and pistol combo is that allows us to now kill enemies at range without being detected or heard. So we can kind of go around and shoot baddies now. That's really fulfilling. And you folks may have found all these items in different orders. So I'm curious, did you guys remember like the general, like did you find yourself that handgun with no silencer, or did you find yourself the silencer first?
The handgun was the first one that I found, and I was using that without a silencer for a while.
Yeah.
Even alerting the guards with that, I noticed that because if you don't have the silencer, you shoot at a guard, it's going to alert the other guards nearby. But if you kill the guards fast enough, then no more will come in. So you just had to make sure you could just go blap blap. But
yeah, and usually when you alert guards, like 4 will come running in. Mm-hmm. And if you kill all 4 of those, I think that kind of de-escalates the alarm.
Mm-hmm. But I did notice that the handgun was probably one of the most useful items in the entire game, because while there was just this whole library of items, so many of them are like one-time use, or they're only used in this one screen.
Yep. Yeah, and here's a really great example: is these laser. There's a bunch of these. They look like almost electrical grids with like transistor or whatever it's called. Anyway,
they look kind of like
lasers.
servers.
Yes, yeah, and they have lasers and they're invisible. And I could have sworn that as a kid, if you use the cigarettes in that area, it would make those lasers appear, but it would start draining life, because one of the items you get in the game are cigarettes, which really do nothing. So, but in this version of the game, that didn't work. So I looked it up, and apparently later versions allowed for that. So I don't know if you guys tried that at all.
I did definitely,
did.
since I
Or
remember
not.
that worked in Metal Gear Solid.
Okay.
So
Did that work for you, Shane?
it did not. No.
Okay, that's weird. All right. Well, later on we'll find some infrared goggles, and the only use of that, as far as I know, is to see those laser grids. But it's pretty easy. Even if you trip one of the laser grids, there's a bunch of enemies come out. Really easy to kill them, just like Alamaxia said.
It's no different than if a guard were to see you. Same exact thing. So
Yeah.
even tripping the laser grids at some point, we're just, whatever, I'll just run through them.
Yeah, just run to the next screen, and everything kind of resets there, right? The alert doesn't transfer from screen to screen.
Mm-hmm. Which I feel like that's something that's worth calling out in the early game. Is there is quite a few screens where you alert the enemy and you just have to run from them, just run to the next screen. And some of them, the enemies would you just walk into the room and bam, they see you. And the one I remember in building 1, there's like 2 guys in one like thin corridor. You have no weapon, so I was sitting there thinking, how do I beat them? How do I get past them? Oh, I just run.
Yeah. Especially if you're a prisoner and you have no weapons. We just got captured. Shane, I'm curious. There's 2 ways to get to this area. Did you go get captured, or did you get here the other way, which is unlocking the doors?
I definitely got captured, because if there is any way
right,
to
cool.
accomplish a thing in a game by blundering into it, I will find it.
Okay. So walk me through, like, you go and get captured, and why do you get captured, and what happens next?
So the problem is you've been told by one of the POWs that you found that you need to find this guy named Gray Fox, and he's in a hidden cell somewhere. And the best way to get to the hidden cell is to get captured on purpose, is I believe the line in the game.
Yeah.
So you go into a truck at one point and you get cornered by a guard, and then you wake up in a cell. And then from there you have to find the secret exit to the cell. You find this POW that we're seeing on the screen right now, who explains a lot about what you're supposed to do next.
Yeah, Dr. Petrovich, who's played Metal Gear Solid 3, because he is a big person in MGS3. So it was good to see him. And then how many people, raise a hand, how many people like punched every single wall after they realized that you could punch walls and there were secrets there? Anyone?
Absolutely. I kept wondering if there was going to be more secrets somewhere. I was a little disappointed.
There's a couple.
I did that for a little while. Like any equipment room I went into that kind of looked like that jail cell. I just did a couple punches on each side of the wall just to see if I bounced off it.
Yeah, there'll be a couple there. Did anyone peep? So we're fighting a boss, and we'll get to that in a second, but did anyone peep that item that they gave me in my inventory after you get captured?
I did.
It has a transmitter. We'll talk about that in a sec, but Alamaxia, you want to walk us through this guy? You go into this room, he's like, hey, I'm Machine Gun Kid.
Well, Machine Gun Kid, I hid in the lower right corner and became Nikita Missile Kid.
Okay.
So just shoot a Nikita missile around the corner, aim it at him. I think it took like 4 or 5 to blow him up. And I think I did that for most of the bosses. I just hid around a corner and shot missiles at him.
Okay. Shane, what was your strategy on the kid here?
Oh, it was the exact same thing. I tried to do something much more exciting the first several times. It wasn't working at all. And then I'm just like, oh, I have Nikitas. And that worked a lot better than anything else I tried.
Love it. So after that, we picked up some armor, which is going to make our defense a lot better. Of course, we have to equip the armor. And then here's something that's really weird. It's called a bomb blast suit. But the whole purpose of it is at the rooftop of building number 1, there's like some sort of gust of wind that pushes you back. Right, so you have to wear the bomb blast suit to get past that. I don't know. That's
so the bomb blast suit is supposed to weigh a whole lot.
Just weigh a lot.
Yeah, just weigh a lot. But it's like this one line. It's like this wind barrier that only appears one spot in the game, and you only have to use the bomb blast suit going onto the rooftop. Yeah. When you're coming back out, you just walk back through it.
Yeah, and we also got a uniform, and that is only useful in one screen, as I understand. You can't just wear that uniform and walk past guards, and it doesn't actually change your look. So,
I tried to
kind of
wear that
weird
uniform more. You're right. Guards saw right through that. Except for the dumb ones. They're really
the ones that
guards.
fell asleep. I mean, feel asleep. Now I'm going through the game now, and I have this transmitter on me, and of course I don't realize I have it, right? And as I go into rooms, people just start being alerted to me immediately, and I was like, "What the heck is going on here?" Like I got captured, and so like maybe they're like, "Oh, be on the lookout for Solid Snake now." But it took me a while to figure out about this transmitter. But I did go up to the ceiling or the rooftop here, and there's like these really cool bridges that are moving back and forth, sort of like a snake pattern. You have to traverse that without falling down. Anyone fall down there?
I did once. Yep.
Yeah. I like it. You fall into like one of the rooms in building 1 that has a big tank. So that was kind of cool to see, just that, you get the sense of actual physicality in the level construction here. When you fall in that situation, you're like, oh, okay, I see where I was in relation to the world. So,
it's just another nice little touch where they could have easily just had that be a pit and then you die, but instead they added that connection.
Yeah.
I didn't know that one. I just saw the bridges and navigated across, so that's pretty cool.
Sometimes
that's
being
really
bad
cool.
is more interesting, Alamaxia. You get to see more of the game. So So we've been picking up a couple prisoners here. Shane, do you want to walk me through, picking up the prisoners and what some of the things you get for rescuing prisoners are?
Well, of course, the big thing is every single prisoner without fail says, "Phew, that was close." Which, that's what I think when I'm rescued from a POW camp.
I think, I can agree with that sentiment.
And then after that, a lot of them will give basically a little bit of direction about where you're supposed to go next. Talking about where things you need to find are, talking about general directions you need to be going in as well. Sometimes even hinting at frequencies you need to use in the radio.
And what I'm curious about is if the dialogue that you get, the hints, if those are on specific, or if they're like every second one or every third one, you get a bit of hints there. So I'm not sure how that works, because there's some that you might not get to, and you don't need to rescue all of the prisoners. But after you rescue, I think it's like maybe every 5 you get a star rank. And so we're currently ranked 2. And that is useful because it allows you to have more life. It allows you to carry more ammo. And most importantly, Diane will talk to you. I think it's Diane will talk to you later on if you have enough class, is what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's 4 ranks total. And I believe you can actually D-rank. Did anyone get D-ranked?
I did one time, and
Nice.
I reloaded that state to not have that. But
what did you do to get D-ranked? Did you kill a prisoner?
Yeah, there was a prisoner in a certain situation that.
Okay, it's one of the boss fights, right?
Yes.
Okay. We'll definitely get there.
I was just like, maybe let's see if my submachine gun actually becomes useful here. Whoops.
Nope. That's the opposite of being useful. Yeah, I didn't use a submachine gun either. Well, we are using the enemy uniform we got. Is this building number 3, Alamaxia?
Number 2.
Number 2. Okay, so building number 2, you get a little call from Big Boss. He says, hey, use the uniform. And you put the uniform on, and the guys will say, like, hey, everyone, let's go inside. That's cool. So that door is locked on you using a uniform as opposed to actually having a key. Kind of interesting. But
something I really appreciated in here was how many, like, obviously I would have liked to see some of these mechanics expanded, but the idea of a game that had such limited storage on the cartridge, doing all these things that you only do like once or twice, these little tricks, these little knacks, these little gadgets, I thought was really neat, and just made the scope of this game feel enormous.
You really get the feel that they had way more. That they had way more in mind that they were able to do with this.
Yeah, absolutely. And in some ways, it kind of makes you feel like a special agent, or like you have just like, you imagine like I have a little lipstick thing and it's a one-time use, or just like a single shot gun. A lot of like little spy gadgets here. Now, I just wanted to make a correction here. I misnamed the first boss. It was Shotmaker, aka Shoot Gunner. The second boss is Machine Gun Kid, so that's my bad. I was incorrect there. But we did kill the actual Machine Gun Kid, and that one's pretty easy. He's just got almost like a supermarket. Like he's standing on one side of the supermarket, and there's like aisles, and he just kind of like goes between those aisles and shoots. So I think I just use a handgun there. But it sounds like you guys use a Nikita missile launcher. Is that right?
Yep. Hide behind the crates. Use missile.
I think I didn't use it very often because getting more ammo for that was kind of a pain. You had to go to a specific room and pick that up. But one of the things that was great is you can just keep going in and out of rooms. So that's how I'd stock up on rations. It'd be like, all right, found a ration, just leave that room and re-enter about 20 times and pick up all the rations. So you could very easily stock up on items that you needed.
If you find one ration, you find all the rations.
That's true. All right, we are now at the third boss fight. Let me see if I can get the name here. But Shane, could you walk us through this? This is Twin Shot.
So this one is one of the ones that actually gave me a lot of trouble because I didn't initially realize there was a spot over on the right that was a little bit safe. So you've got...
It's on the rooftop, right?
Right. So you've got two bosses, actually, which I think they're on, like, turret, like, mounted guns, as far as I can tell. And they're at the top of the screen, and they're firing in sweeping back and forth at the bottom. And the sweeping pattern kind of overlaps, which is what threw me off. For a very long time, I was trying to just duck and weave through their shots, which is really tough to do.
Don't do that. Just stand off to the side with a grenade launcher and lob it over. So much easier.
Don't do that. Just equip your key card and run through the door behind them.
Oh, you can do that? I thought I touched them and I died. Okay.
I ended up doing that.
There you go.
I was throwing like grenades at them, and I was like, I don't think this is doing anything. Let me just equip a key card and run through and got through. So I never actually beat them.
You never killed them.
No. That's
one of the things that's kind of a pain on all the bosses here. It's really hard to tell if you're actually doing any damage against them. Because they don't. There's no sound. There's no like blinking red. There's just nothing. So
and
they'll just disappear.
Everything else in the game takes like one hit to kill from any of your weapons. So you didn't even know how many times. Once you did find the right weapon, you're like, heck, I hope I have enough of the right ammo.
Exactly.
And
furthermore, if you go to your inventory, it like resets the screen. So if you swap to a new ammo, if you happen to be doing any damage, it would get reset. So that's kind of a pain. That happens with at least the tank fight a little bit longer. Go for it.
I can confidently say there are a couple bosses in this game that you probably don't have to beat. Because I also went past Machine Gun Kid the first time I saw him.
Yeah, okay.
Because I was having trouble fighting him, and I discovered, I can just use the key card to go through this door. And I went back and beat him later, but I wasn't sure if I needed to afterwards, because I don't think he drops any items or anything.
Yeah, same thing with the tank. You can actually get past that. I think it might be a bug, but we'll talk about that in a second. So let's go back to Twin Shot right here, because there's a bunch of story stuff that happened. So again, Twin Shot's on the rooftop. We went there because we were told Dr. Petrovich was on the rooftop. You get there, his cell is empty. Oh, okay. So you go to the next cell and you find another POW, and he tells you that Petrovich has been moved to building, I think, 5.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go. We now have enough key cards to go back to building 2. And here's a really cool item. It's the antenna. And so once you pick up the antenna, you'll get a call. And Big Boss says, hey, that antenna was jamming our communications. And once you get that antenna, now you can go back to, I think it might be building 5. And that was the one where it was doing call, but when you'd actually call, you'd pick up, no one would be there. But now you can use that antenna to boost the signal. And what he tells you there, Big Boss tells you, get in the rightmost truck, which is a worthless hint. So it doesn't really help you out any. But yeah, so the antenna is going to help you on a couple situations where you can't get the reception. So kind of cool.
I thought it was just in that building where you found the antenna. I didn't realize it was for the rest of it. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's how it works. Maybe there was some other story thing I did that triggered that, but in any case, we are on the rooftops of the building, and then somewhere between there, before and now, I've thrown away the transceiver or transmitter. So again, I was talking about how enemies were being alerted to my screen, or being alerted when I go to the screen. If you just go to your inventory and click on the transmitter, you'll throw it away. How long did it take you guys to figure out to throw that thing away?
It was probably about the same time as you, which was quite some
Okay.
time. But
Alamaxia?
When I picked up all my items, I just went in my inventory to make sure it was all there. I saw that and I was like, "What's this?" Click.
Oh, because you wanted to like equip it or something, and then
Yeah,
just threw it away. Yeah.
Yeah, it was right next to my rations, and I was like, "Well, go to this, click it to equip it," and it's like just disappeared. And I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, so now you know what that's about.
Then it sunk in. That was the bomb that they plant in your inventory.
Yes! I was just going to say there's an analog in MGS. I wonder if you caught that. So cool, man. I love it.
I'm so jealous that you
Like I
found
said
that immediately
earlier.
and weren't being chased all the time.
Yeah.
I liked Wiz's idea, though, that you were just a prisoner and the place is on high alert, and I saw you just kind of running through everything and dodging. That was really cool.
Yeah. So, things are... Big Boss is the person that's kind of giving us hints, right? And as we are exploring, occasionally he'll call and Big Boss will be like, "Oh, hey, Snake, I forgot to tell you there is poison gas in the compound." Or, "Snake, I forgot to tell you the floor is electrified." But Big Boss is he's gonna start getting some interesting hints here. And so we'll call those out as we see them, but it's starting to allude that Big Boss may not be all he's cracked up to be. And I think later on we get a transmitter, which is really funny. It's like, Snake, I got to tell you something. Are you ready for this? The leader of the rebellion is, and he dies. So I love the idea there, that someone kills him like right as he's trying to say his piece there.
The moment of highest drama possible.
Right. All right, we just got a tip that Arnold can be killed with a rocket launcher, and Dr. Petrovich has been moved to building number 2. So that's awesome. And then, just as a reminder, Arnold is a boss fight, and there is, it's kind of like 2 Arnolds. I don't know how that works, but basically there's an Arnold at the top and the Arnold at the bottom. I'm curious, and there's a bunch of doors you can go to. So you don't have to fight Arnold to go through the doors. You eventually do need to kill Arnold. But Shane, I'm curious, how long did you try to kill Arnold before you just like gave up and you're like, I'm not going to worry about him for now?
Well, I'm not going to say it's an embarrassingly long time, but it was.
Okay. Yeah.
But as I said before, I'd skipped at least one boss before with Machine Gun Kid, so after a while I got a little bit fed up and I just went, well, there's all these doors here. I may as well start trying the doors. So
Yeah, try it out. Yeah.
the one thing led to another, and that's how eventually I was able to make it until I found, rockets. Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are now in the dam. Alamaxia, you said that no problem can be solved without enough rations. What sort of problems were you thinking about?
Well, anything that just, as you're in something, you just take damage. So, gas rooms, electric floors, drowning in a small indoor pool.
Hey, you know what? I got nothing. I don't know how eating food allows you to stay underwater, but I'm glad that it does, because that allows you to, I guess you could kind of call it a sequence break a little bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you that much, but
I feel like there's a couple times in the game that you could sequence break. Like, I don't think that the gas mask is really necessary. I don't think that you really have to wait to get your Nikita missile launcher to do some of the electric floors. You just eat enough rations and all your problems will go away.
Yeah, and in fact, there's a place later on where you have to just walk on the electrified floor there. So, there is Scuba Gear later on, and again, Scuba Gear is really only used in one location, which is that lock. There's a lock that connects 2 compounds together, I believe, or something like that. And but I went up there. You can go up there by just chugging a bunch of rations. But as I got up there, I realized I didn't have the key card, so I kind of came back. And I'm gonna go find Dr. Petrovich. Are you guys ready for this? So we're walking into the room with Dr. Petrovich. Whew, that's been a. And what happens? Who here got outfoxed?
Oh yes.
So what, Alamaxia? What the heck is going on here?
You walk in and he's just there's a whole bunch of crates around and she's like, oh my god, you're here. And then you walk in and the floor disappears. And apparently if Snake's head is in the same tile as a floor that's not there, you just die. And sometimes,
or if you reload the screen and the visuals don't update, but the collision is still there, you will still die.
Yes.
That's sad.
That was rough, especially later on in one of the buildings we go in. The floors made the game very trial and error in that regard.
Yeah.
I appreciate that they gave Dr. Petrovich his own sprite, though. To make him feel like
and his imposter, right?
You make him feel like he's actually, this is the special guy you've been trying to find all game, which is cool.
Yeah.
Now we're fighting the boss. I thought this was Arnold when we got clues that you had to kill Arnold. I was like, oh, Arnold the tank, obviously. But Arnold is not the tank, but we just killed the tank. Shane, did you kill the tank or did you just walk by it?
I wasn't even aware that you could walk by it when I first did it. So, no, I did kill the tank.
All right, how'd you do that?
I think I did what you were doing here, which was use mines, just lay down mines on the ground and let it run over it, which is tricky because it is sweeping fire back and forth the whole time.
Yeah.
But
I think it has a cannon too, it shoots out.
Yeah. So it's that was one of the harder bosses for me, I think, but very satisfying to actually finish.
So that's a boss that if you go to your menu will actually reset. And so here's why I think you can run by the tank is I think that the collision doesn't activate, the kill collision doesn't activate it on the tank until it's like fully on the screen, I think. So what you can do is you can run up close to the tank and then go to your menu, exit the menu, and if you skirt along the sides, you can walk past before the collision loads. So it's something like that. So it allows you to get by there. It's kind of cool. But you got to use like 14 mines, and if you go to your inventory, the fight will reset, and you're like, oh, I have to go get those mines again.
The mob manipulation through the menus was very interesting, and I'll be honest, I didn't notice that until I didn't notice that was the thing that was triggering it until the last boss. I just thought it was something glitching out in the game, like maybe I just did something weird, or the game's just because I can already see that they had some translation issues. Maybe they had some coding issues as well.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Alamaxia, we just are fighting Coward Duck here. Why don't you walk us through your heroic fight strategy here?
All right. So you charge in, and you see this guy standing behind a few prisoners, and I didn't notice that he wasn't a prisoner at first. I thought they were all tied up. So I was like, oh, they must all be bad. Just machine gunned all of them. And the game didn't really like that too much. I quickly died and realized, and that's where I lost that rank. I just blapped all these prisoners, and when I hit continue, I kept that I did not get that lost star back. So, so once you kill one, you kind of have that stuck with you for the rest of the game, which we didn't talk about the continue system in this, how when you die in this game, you don't lose everything, and there are very few checkpoints where it actually respawns you. Like you respawn in like the jungle for the first like building and a half, I feel like. But when you respawn, you keep everything that you had, which made this game feel like a roguelite.
A little bit, yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
Because with those opening floors, the pits, that was trial and error. That was the I made it an extra room and I died. Let me try to get to the next one next time.
So we killed Coward Duck. He actually drops a key card. We also rushed through and killed Arnold. He required a rocket launcher, and in order to get the rocket launcher, this is the first thing I had to look up in the game. You have to call Jennifer. I think it's Jennifer or Diane. I can't remember which one. Anyway,
Jennifer
one of those. Okay, Jennifer. And by the way, Coward Duck has captured Jennifer's brother, and I think maybe if you kill the brother, she won't help you or something like that.
That's what she says.
I'm a little fuzzy on those details. Yeah, that's what she says. Did anyone get stuck getting the rocket launcher, or did you guys know how to get that?
I went through the Arnold room, going through every door in there, looking for anything that would help me for a good hour. And I did eventually have to look it up. And I was right outside the room that I needed to go in. I was like, what the heck do? I don't know. So I was like, oh, you just, call Jennifer, and she drops off some rockets into a room. She just, put some rockets into the middle of a heavily guarded compound in a very specific room. And I mean,
very talented. She's a secret agent just like you, man.
Yeah. I mean, who needs Snake when you can just throw rockets into a room?
Only she could have just solved this whole thing on her own,
Uh-huh. Shane, did you figure it out?
I think I got lucky in that I was partially in a Metal Gear Solid kind of mindset where every time I get stuck, I was like, let's try all the codec frequencies.
Okay.
And
because you have to do it in a specific room, right? So you can't, so you have to call outside the door and then she'll drop off stuff. And I think there's one other area that happens. I can't remember which item it is, though.
The compass.
The compass, yeah, that's right. Which you actually don't need the compass or the antidote to finish there.
It's helpful just for getting through areas quicker.
Yes. Yeah. We are now in. Does anyone know what building we're in? Is this like 3 or 4?
I think this is building number 4.
I think it's either 3 or 4, but they're connected, so sometimes it's hard for me to remember like where they are. But yeah,
3.
This was where
this is building 3.
This is 3. Okay, and this is where a big boss says, "Hey, go into the room to the left of you," and you go in there and it's filled with gas. And you're like, what the heck's that all about, right? But here's what I like about that is this room is filled with gas, is not connected, but there's like a divider, and then the room over is also filled with gas. So it's like you can't immediately get to that other room. But I think that's a little bit of a clue that those rooms may be connected somehow. And sure enough, if you punch the northernmost wall, there's a secret passage which will connect to building number 4. And again, buildings 3 and 4 are actually connected there. So I don't know if you guys picked up on that, but I was like, maybe that's a clue, because you might be able to get there and be like, well, why the heck is there gas on this side of the room too? Oh, maybe there's a secret way to get over there or something.
Yeah, I kind of made that connection seeing all the gas there, and I'm really glad the game had showed you before that you can find secret walls in that way. That was a good way of bringing that back, I think.
Whenever I saw that there was really no way to get to the other side, I did just start punching every wall until finally it went bloop. Because you didn't have to get right on the door to figure out there was one there. There's a bit of buffer room on each side where a snake would hit the wall and you'd bounce off of it.
Yeah. And now one of the items we picked up was an iron glove, and I couldn't figure out if you actually need the iron glove to punch through walls or you can do it just with your fist. Did anyone get a sense one way or the other?
I mean, you're able to get out of your prison cell when you're captured without the iron glove.
That's the thing. That might be the only thing that you can punch without the iron glove. So I should look that up a little bit more there. But yeah, the iron glove is just like you don't actually have to wear it, as far as I can tell, to punch through walls. You just have to have it in your inventory.
For a little bit, I thought that it would just make your melee stronger, so I would like try to punch bosses for a little bit. No, didn't help. Hey, so we're talking to Schneider here. What's really funny is Schneider's telling us that there's a gas-filled room up to the north here. But if anyone remembered, about 5 minutes ago, Schneider apparently got killed. So
I found that kind of interesting. He was one that basically said, "Hey, the leader of this terrorist organization is So maybe he just got captured and got away, or who knows what's going on there."
He's had a little bit of a stomach ache, needed to take a break.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Actually, that is a very Kojima thing to have in the game, right?
It really is.
A little bit of Johnny Sasaki right there.
Yeah, exactly. And in the spirit of, having a big monologue, we just got one about a couple minutes ago where we actually found out that Big Boss is actually the leader. And one of the POWs told us that. And then furthermore, when you're like advancing on the big supercomputer, Big Boss calls you. He's like, "Hey, mission's done. Good job. Go home. Everything's solved here. Everything's good. Don't worry about it." So yeah, it's kind of cool, like that this individual is turned from kind of helping you to misleading you here. And again, that's something that is so a serious mainstay with Metal Gear games, right? Is that like, are there people being double agents here? Or like, who are my real allies? So I love
it was
that.
the same exact reveal that they did in Metal Gear Solid for PlayStation. Same.
Yeah, you're talking about the Liquid Snake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, here's this guy, and then all of a sudden, I'm actually a different guy.
You just gotta fluff your hair out, and then now, take off the glasses, and now it's a different person.
In a lot of ways, you could probably draw the comparison between like Evil Dead 1 and 2 in the sense that the Metal Gear Solid is a sequel, but also in a lot of ways it's a remake in the sense that it rehashes a lot of the old themes in a better medium.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. Well, Shane, it's time to get our flashlight out. We just got that, and you want to walk us through this little area here.
So you get into a room, and it's just a completely black screen. And initially, I had no idea what was going on, but I was thinking, this is going to be where I need a flashlight or something, right? Eventually, you do get the flashlight, and that allows you to see in the room, but then there's still a bunch of pits that open up in there as well. Initially, I thought you had to route around the pits, which is confusing because the pits take up so much of the screen. It turns out some of them you have to just outrun as they're opening, which is very tricky. You don't have a big window to outrun those things, do you?
You kind of have to know where they're going to spawn. Now, again, you don't have to do this. There are other ways connecting buildings 3 and 4. And also you don't need the flashlight to be able to do this. As long as you know exactly where to stand and how to move around, you could probably go through this without a flashlight. So I bet speedrunners, they probably sequence break and don't have to worry about all this. But, you could imagine speedrunners going through here with no flashlight. And that would be kind of impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen enough speedrunners do Link to the Past dark rooms with no lamp. This one, it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, one of the things that's difficult is a little tricky to figure out where the hitboxes are on Snake and the pit there. And so sometimes, you're not sure how close you can get. But as you're walking around this area, I'm doing this little dance, like a little bit forward, a little bit back, because I don't know where the pits are going to be. So I'm always expecting, dip my toe out there and see if there's a pit that spawns, and then run away real quick if it does.
There's a few areas and a few mechanics in the game that definitely feel like trial and error is about the best way to get through it, and the giant opening pits is one of them, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I did notice that all of the pits were the same size, so it was easy to be like, okay, I'm in a safe area because the floor isn't big enough for a pit to open.
Little metagaming there. Now, the checkpoints usually are within, it doesn't take too long to get back to where you are, maybe 2 or 3 minutes tops here. One of the interesting things about where we spawned, which was near one of the buildings, is to get to the building we are in, we have to go through this, it's a maze of sorts, right? And the way you go through the maze, it's one of those where there's like 6 different paths and you have to go through the sequence of paths. So if you remember Zelda, it's like what? Up, left, down, and then that brings you to a new area.
Like the Lost Woods.
So the Lost Woods, exactly. And there's a couple areas. There's 2 areas where you have to go through a particular sequence. And I don't think there's a way to figure out that sequence other than trial and error. Did anyone figure out how to determine which sequence of routes to go?
No.
I looked it up.
You looked it up. Shane, did you look it up also?
I did.
Okay. Good call.
Yeah,
All right. So who wants to walk through?
Nothing.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if there was a codec call or something.
I'm glad to hear that wasn't just me.
Who wants to walk us through Fire Trooper? I think you go in the room and they say, "I am Fire Trooper,"
which is
okay.
Amazing
Right.
little boss call out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, Shane, why don't you walk us through Fire Trooper?
So he sits at the top of the screen in a little alcove by the door, and he's got this column of fire, like just a bunch of fireballs connected in a line, and they sweep back and forth, and that's pretty much his only attack.
Yeah.
And so I decided not to wreck a good thing, and I just used Nikita's on him once again, and that was pretty easy.
Okay. It'll blow up projectiles that are coming at, but if you time it, I could see that you could weave it in
sneak it in from the side,
around that fire thing there.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yeah, and then you go and see. So just north of Fire Trooper is the real Dr. Petrovich, and he basically says, "Yeah, man, I can't help you unless you get my daughter." And she's somewhere. She's in a hidden cell somewhere. So back to punching walls, right?
I oddly found his daughter before him.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't punch enough walls in that area. I punched one wall and I was like, oh, it gets me over to here. And I think there was like maybe a key card or some item over there. I was like, oh, maybe this is what I needed to go get and, leave the building and go explore. Found his daughter and she's like, go find my dad. And I'm like, wait,
okay.
Where is he? So I had to remember building 5 and the buildings aren't clearly labeled. So you have to think back. Well, what's actually building 5? I don't know.
I kind of love how much of this game you can just do out of order.
Yeah.
One of the things that happened after I finished playing this game is I looked up a walkthrough of it, and I'm reading through it. I'm like, this is madness. This wasn't what my playthrough looked like at all.
No, you're going the wrong way, idiot. No, that's not what you do at all.
There was such this interweaving of areas that it was easy to get lost, but at the same time, you knew exactly where you were most of the time. It's like, I've been in this room, I've been in this area, I just don't know how to get back over to this other room.
Mm-hmm. We just we just went back to Dr. Petrovich, which, by the way, we rescued him, then his daughter, and then we went back to Dr. Petrovich, and someone tied him up again. So it's good, So we just untied him again, and he's like, all right, cool. Go to the supercomputer. Oh, he's also like, hey, it's my bad. I was forced to make this Metal Gear. You got to go kill a supercomputer. You got to put 16 plastic explosives on the supercomputer, blow that up. And now you can move in to kill the final boss, Big Boss. Who wants a crack at on this fight?
I threw every single piece of ammunition I had at him until I got to the rockets. I went through all of my grenades, all of my pistol, everything. But he just would not take damage, and he runs away from you. He is a slippery guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, grenades I thought was going to be the easy win because the way the room is structured, there's 6 crates, and so you can actually line them up so you're on one side of the crate and Big Boss is on the other, and you can just chuck grenades over that. So I'm like, oh, this is easy. But yeah, he doesn't take any damage. Shane, how about you? How did you do against Big Boss?
I struggled. We talked before about how it's difficult to tell if the bosses are taking any damage, and I feel like this is the prime example of it. Is I just kept throwing all my ammo at it, and I'm going, is this even hitting him? Are these hits even landing?
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you got a countdown timer, and and that's going pretty quickly. It's like, it looks like you might have, 5 minutes to kill Big Boss and escape.
It's not much, that's for sure. It doesn't feel like much.
Yeah. But yeah, ultimately, the rocket launcher is your friend here. And once I swap over there, it's just a couple shots there, and I managed to to kill him. He does shoot a handgun at you, but at this point you're wearing body armor, your life bar looks like a Dark Souls game, and you've got like 20 rations. So really death isn't something it's really going to happen through someone shooting you.
I was surprised how many one-hit mechanics there were for parts of the game that seemed rather trivial, and then the things that are supposed to be difficult and hard, like, oh, this boss is blocking your way. Here, let me just shoot this pea shooter at you, and you can just heal it with a ration.
And then after you kill him, there are 3 exits you can go to. I picked the left because there was an NPC that said, hey, on your escape, go to the left elevator. Did anyone else not go to the left elevator?
Nope, I went to the left elevator because I talked to the same NPC.
Yeah,
I got that
Shane,
one.
did you pick left? Okay.
I did,
I'm
thankfully.
really curious. I'm curious what happens if you go to the middle or the right one. If it's just you die, or it's just an infinite elevator or whatever. But that's it.
One of those classic elevators that just goes into a brick wall.
There's no Metal Gear in the game. This is the first one where, obviously, it's the first Metal Gear game, but yeah, there's no Metal Gear that you fight here.
I think
it was
that
just
was
the
the result
supercomputer.
of the American version, because I think in the original one that you said was for MS DOS, they had Metal Gear.
Oh, really?
Okay. When I was looking through parts of the walkthrough, I saw that was a call out. Like if I go to the changes from the original, there was supposed to be a Metal Gear in there.
Oh, well, that's interesting. All right. So look out for Metal Gear in the, what did you say, the DOS and the MSX version?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If nothing else, I can kind of
Snake doesn't counter a Metal Gear. It's stationary, but it's defended by 2 wall-mounted laser systems. Snake must follow Dr. Petrovich's precise instructions in order to destroy it. But yeah, this one is, Doctor says, just throw 14 plastic explosives, which plastic explosives, another thing that I never used until the one moment that I needed it.
Yeah, exactly. And you need 16, right? You don't, no more, no less. So if you didn't go pick those all up, then you got to go farm them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wonder if did the supercomputer's health reset? I guess it would between leaving the screen and going back in.
Yeah,
there wouldn't have been anything kept in memory. I mean,
and when I first went there, I tried to blow it up, and I think you have to actually have Dr. Petrovich tell you how to do it before you can blow it up. Because I feel like I did a lot of damage to it, but it just didn't blow up. So
many hidden flags.
Yes, yeah, but I think that's what makes this game special and was so enjoyable to play. I'd say this still held up 100% for me. I was like addicted to this. I think I started it on a Friday and beat it by Sunday. I loved every minute of it. So pick it up if you are really into best 20 games of all times, is what I'd say.
I did enjoy it, but best 20?
It hit all my right. It hit my right spots there. I think it was
way better than I expected it to be, especially how it started out. Because like I said earlier, the first 7 rooms I thought were the hardest, because I started playing this game and I just bashed my head against those 7 rooms at least 4 different, like, separate times playing the game. And I was like, I just don't have the patience for this. Close it and go back to it another day. And then once I got through the 7 rooms and then got the pistol, yeah, it was just fly through the game and just experiencing the whole thing all together, seeing how it connects to Metal Gear Solid and how there's so many elements that are either similar or identical. It was fun in that regard to just see the roots of the game.
Yeah. Well, Shane, what about you? You have any last thoughts on the game?
I think basically if you're a fan of game history, this is something you have to pick up just to see what was truly capable with the NES hardware. There's so much of this I was blown away that they were able to do with the amount of memory they had available to them, with the knowledge they had of coding at the time. Just, it's so expansive compared to what else was out there at the time. And I think, if nothing else, it is worth a look for just that.
And honestly, the detail in some of the graphics in this, now that I'm kind of stepping back and looking at it, it looks good. It looks a lot better than many NES games out there. Like they have like this
looks so
rusted door and some bricks. It's like, it just to me looks like they put a lot of work into the artwork of the world that you're in and not so much the character that you're playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal game. There's a couple spots where we got stuck, but a guide will help clear that up. But yeah, it is super fun to go in blind and kind of like learn how the mechanics of all these things work. So, well, folks, that's Metal Gear. And of course, we had our Patreon screen thanking all of our fabulous Patreon supporters. And we did get a new one this week. So thank you so much to Chris Stutzman for your support, the Saturday Morning Gaming Show. We have, check this out, we have 15 current Patreon supporters. And if you remember, we have 25. At 25, we'll be covering Earthbound as a goal there. And here's what's cool. This was episode 40. So if you math it out, we get one Patreon supporter a month. We could be playing Earthbound for episode 50. That would be kind of a cool milestone.
Nice.
That would be really cool.
There you go. There's a little challenge for you folks there. If you would like to support us on Patreon, you can head over to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Gaming Show to learn more. Or, you can just go to SaturdayMorningGamingShow.com. It's got all of our links. It's got Discord. It's got our Patreon. It's got our episodes of not only Saturday Morning Gaming Show, but Retro Oddities, which Shane and I play together. Shane, do you want to give us like a 30-second explanation of Retro Oddities?
Well, whereas Saturday Morning Gaming Show takes the best and the best known of gaming, the Retro Oddities takes some of the stuff you've probably never heard of, but maybe should have for curiosity, if nothing else, and run it down a little bit more of a casual format.
Yeah. Just, real fun. I like to call it like Saturday morning gaming after hours. So
I love it.
A lot of weird games there, but it's a fun time to kind of explore things that aren't, like critically acclaimed or tentpole releases there.
Or your N64 games that took like 2 hours to beat that you never picked back up.
Yeah, like, so what? Any on your mind there, Alamaxia?
Mischief Makers.
Oh man,
that is a fever dream of a game because I played and beat it in like less than 24 hours and I never went back to play it again. All I remember is I was this weird, like it kind of looked like this Gundam anime girl, and I would just shake these like balls that were hanging in the air that had faces on them. That's all I remember.
Weird. Okay.
But I remember being a game
Shane.
that had enough to it that kept me interested.
Very cool. Well, Alamaxia, you were talking N64 games, and you kind of like, I just want to play an N64 game now.
Yeah, I mean, we were a lone wolf in this game, but I want to play a game where I'm a fox, and my teammates are constantly harassing me and complaining to me and forcing me to bail them out. What are we going to play?
I think if you put those all together, I think that'd be Starfox.
Fox, get this guy off
Starfox
me!
64. Oh my goodness, that's gonna be great. I actually haven't played Starfox on the Super Nintendo or 64, so I'm gonna start on the Super Nintendo, and then we'll do Starfox 64 for the next game. So stay tuned for that. That's gonna be your April game.
Now,
So
do we
very
want to
excited.
cover any multiplayer of that? Because the multiplayer was, it wasn't super special, but there were some fun mechanics in it. I think it was one of the first multiplayer games I can remember that had 3D dogfighting, like you're actual just in a 3D space flying around trying to shoot each other with the R wings, and it really has some interesting things with that.
All right. Well, let's talk about that offline and see if we want to get set up with that. And maybe we'll have Lobos back. Maybe not. I saw that he's having some difficulties in Elden Ring, which scares me because I'm not as far as he is and not as good as he is. But I'm like, oh gosh, what is in store for me here? So we'll see if we can coax him away from the game for the April episode. Well, sadly, we have reached the end credits of this episode. We wanted to thank everyone for listening to us on the podcast or watching us on YouTube.
And like Wiz said earlier, if you want to follow us on Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast, just give us a like, give us a follow, or if you just want to listen to it in browser, just go to SaturdayMorningGamingShow.com and we have everything right there. Just listen to it right in the browser.
Yeah, and then after you're done listening to it, why not drop a rating for us? Give us a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 star, maybe even a 6-star if you can find that. So that would be an honor to be the very first 6-star podcast out there. So let's make it happen there, folks. And we wanted to give one final special shout out to TechnoAxe for much of the music on this episode.
For Saturday Morning Gaming, I'm Alamaxia.
I'm ShaneIsGames.
And I'm the Thefatwizard. We'll see you in April with Starfox 64 for the N64.
Bye!